You're listening to Chrysalis Colored, the podcast. Hello, this is Jorunn from Norway.
And Christine in Canada.
With a podcast about color analysis and how it applies to you in a practical way. We'll talk about how to use your colors to make your days brighter, your wardrobe more enjoyable, and your life easier.
We'll talk about topics that we find interesting, and we encourage you to submit your questions. A podcast listing is available at chrysaliscolor.com under the Podcasts tab.
Welcome to episode 3, Changing Color with Maturity, in which we'll talk about adapting how we wear our colors as we get older and share our thoughts on whether warmer seasons are flattered by silvering hair. So, first question, how do we use our colors from youth to maturity?
In episode 2, Jorunn and I talked about our belief that season doesn't change with age. We might look different, but our pigments and our color reactions, which means the comparison process that leads us to know your season, they stay the same. A woman might wear the softer colors, softer versions of her colors better than 20 years ago, but softer in the same palette, just maybe the lower end of the range. We wanted to expand on this idea of using the palette differently in today's show. Jorunn, you mentioned in episode 2 that you haven't changed your color choices. If anything, you're choosing brighter, bolder colors. Did you mean styles, though, because your glasses are bolder, but they're also black? Or have you changed both color and style, just depending on the item? I know you have a beautiful yellow cardigan. That's our image for today's show. And it's gorgeous with your hair and your lipstick.
Well, as I say quite often when we talk about this, don't ever take my short skirt and Dr. Martin boots away from me, no matter how old I am. And that yellow cardigan is a perfect example of what I was talking about. So the point is that I wouldn't think of putting away that bright yellow cardigan just because my hair is silver gray. Quite the opposite. I think I need it now more than ever. And I love wearing it. I really do. It makes me happy. And I think I'll link to that video about yellow in the show notes so people can see that cardigan in the wild, so to speak.
I didn't know the colors to wear till I was almost 50 when I became a color analyst. So I was already mature. In meeting clients, I could see the changes they were making and what worked and what didn't really make a difference. Like Jorunn, I agree. Color just adds vitality automatically if it has some connection with the woman. Bold color for the sake of boldness, that to me can look irrational or unbelonging. I'm left feeling confused. Like, why would you wear that? What was I supposed to know? What did you want me to know about you that I'm missing? It's when the colors don't belong with us that the message, I think, can just tip over to eccentric. When I think about how my colors or use of colors change with age, well, I've always worn a lot of color. I think now it's organized color. My closet looks like me. Colors, there's an obvious reason why they're together. It would be obvious to anybody. You know that moment you get home from the store with your new purchase and you think, and just what do I think I'm going to wear with this? Well, those moments are kind of gone, but not forgotten. Everything goes with everything. So color organization, that'd be my big shift with age. Within it, though, I really do like bright color. For all of us, our hair shifts to a neutral block or a more neutral block. And adding color somewhere keeps the energy of the whole appearance interesting. Fashion changes, lifestyles change. Our ability to wear more intensity in cosmetics, that might actually increase because there's more power in the face and there's less definition in the features. So color or cosmetics can compensate for that. Women's comfort level with color, well, that might go up or down. And we're going to talk more about makeup in the next show, but overall, that's a one person at a time choice. And as Jorunn has said, intensity doesn't mean darker. Often it might mean a little lighter and brighter. We're always in the same palette of colors.
Yeah, I can see 3 directions we could take as we grow older. All of them are okay and none of them wrong. The first one is to compensate for the muting appearance of age by going even more into the bolder side of the color fan and makeup. This would be like channeling your inner Iris apfel. The second is to go for a more subdued version of your palette, still clearly within your season, of course. And the third is don't change a thing. Use your colors just the way you've always done, trusting that since your season hasn't changed, neither have your colors. But is there an age-appropriate version of our season, or is it up to each individual? What's your take on this, Christine?
Age appropriate. Yaron, this is such a good question. I've never thought about it in this way. You know, I'm really excited to be doing this podcast with Yoren because it feels like we're speaking to our listeners more personally, that you're all in here with us having this conversation. And part of what makes it so easy is that Yoren and I really agree so much about aging and the social rules we're willing to follow. Neither of us being very willing rule followers. We're more like rule questioners. At our ages, we don't relate to most images marketed to women, and we want to advocate for all women who just want to look well on their terms, look healthy, intelligent, current in the world as it is. So if that's you, you have got a seat at our table.
And we're ready to dish up large helpings of opinionated talk and practical tips.
When I see images in media, I ask myself, first thing I ask myself, does this look like anybody I know? Because if nobody in our lives looks like this, well, it's not really a real standard, is it? Maybe it's just a way to feel a little worse. I think it comes down to being really careful about who I compare myself to, because some comparisons normal, it's unavoidable. So no, when I think about the women in my life, I'm going to say that there's no age appropriate version of our colors. There's only personal versions.
True. But Christine, we do feel better when we look well, don't we?
That's absolutely true. We definitely do. You know, and I might have facial lines. We may have facial lines, but when I look at our faces, I see voltage getting higher and higher. So backing down with colors, well, it would be more in opposition to ourselves than ever. Age is just a reinterpretation. We've done it every decade with every life stage. We've done it so many times. We're good at it. The game has become, how can my clothing speak faithfully for me? It's like a quest.
I think it's so funny when you say voltage. It's like when I get older, the voltage is so high, I feel zapped sometimes. And I want to insert something that I believe firmly in. Youth has beauty, age has character. And I like that image. But there are mornings when I look into the mirror and I see entirely too much character in my face.
Yes. Yes, very true. We will be compared with others, won't we? Unless we live alone. It's just the nature of the world we live in. Yoren's words, practicality. I think mine is independence. At this age, at every age, I resist being told what to cover or what I'm supposed to hide. But I also acknowledge that for most of us, independence means that we're dependent on other people and the impressions we make on them because we want their acceptance to more fully enjoy our own lives.
Hmm. Yeah, but let's talk about the use of our darker colors, reminding ourselves that there is no general across the board advice for all people in all seasons. That being said, when the color worn near the face is too dark, too cool, or both, things can happen that detract from our appearance at any age. This happens at 20 as much as at 60. A 5 o'clock shadow effect is the most common one, and this extends to the upper lip along with more age in the neck. And at our age, we're wanting to see less of this, not more.
Oh, this show is about being real. Not only age in the neck, but many mature women, me included, have more peach fuzz, more facial hair. So the effect becomes yet more pronounced when we wear very, very dark color.
That's right. I have developed a very close friendship with my tweezer.
Well, I'll give you one more effect. This can go on. Many of us lose volume in the chin, and it does not help when our clothing makes the dimples and the creases look deeper or darker or more visible than they are. Here's what does help: light colors or bright colors or both. It looks like you grow inside your own skin. I always think of somebody watering the plant. You look as if you fill out and you get taller. So, it's your free volumizer. I keep saying too dark, too cool, or both because we forget about too cool. We do want some shadow around the jaw. It looks slimmer, tighter, stronger. But the shadow should be a natural color in the face. And when we wear a color that's too cool, it can blue or purple the shadows. So they become more pronounced or apart just because they don't belong with the face.
Mm. Yeah, we want jaw definition, but not extremes. So, what about black? Some keep wearing it with no problem at all, and others go a bit lighter, like to charcoal or switch to a color alternative like navy, teal, forest, burgundy, at whatever darkness level that belong with their season or the colors.
Putting a light color near the neck, it reflects light back upwards. And so it can relieve the uneven shadows along an uneven jawline that may happen even with your own palette colors. So when you put a little blur on the area, the line just seems a bit more even. Wear light colors in the top half. Add a scarf in a light or bright color, maybe with a little bit of shine. It reflects even more light back upwards. And also, something that I do is I choose darks as jackets that let me wear a top underneath rather than a closed neck style. If you're comfortable with it, drop the neckline, move the black down, and then add a shiny necklace. Keep in mind though, choose those light colors from your own palette because we want your whites to still look fresh and clean. And this about dark color, it's true for dark season people too. They have a high tolerance for color darkness. It's not darkness that's their problem so much as darkness plus coolness. It's really a thing for dark autumns, for example. She wears darkness well. She loves her black, but it might not always flatter the neck and the lower half of the face if it's too cool. So, once more to repeat what Joran said, what we mean for all seasons here when we say black is the darkest colors of the palette. Joran, have you adapted dark colors near the face? Have you made any changes there?
No, well, I like dark colors and I keep wearing black tops. I do. But I've looked in the mirror and I don't feel it particularly darkens the lower half of my face. But um, if if you think the bottom half of your face gets that 5 o'clock shadow or looks too dark, lighten up a little. I think I will keep black for now. I don't mind it, but I always try to add a necklace or something to brighten the neckline.
I agree. Joran, I think you wear black as well as ever. And it's interesting, because I don't. I think it does darken the lower half of my face, and yet I'm the dark season here. So this is a one person at a time choice. Joran, I'll ask you another question regarding wearing black or your original dark colors in your palette. Wearing them in the lower half continues to be fine, no reservations. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we're not saying that you should rule out wearing black tops even if you grow older. I think, as Christine said, it's highly individual. But what we're saying is that we should be aware that if you do have the feeling that you don't look as fresh in that favorite black top like you used to, it's time to rethink. So, hunting for tops and scarves in your best colors get even more important as we age to give our faces a kinder, more refreshed look.
Yeah. I want to emphasize this point. Everyone should continue wearing their darker colors, top and bottom. Don't avoid them. They help to create lovely contours in the facial bones. They slenderize the body. Just be observant and strategic around the face if needed.
hmm The ability to wear your brightest color does not diminish with age. I think this stays as good as ever, even better. And don't feel like you have to lighten or soften with age. Stay inside your season and use the entire palette. Don't confine yourself, but maybe perhaps use more of your colors instead of mostly neutrals.
Good point. Great point about bright color. Let's go on to the second question. Is it true that warm colored seasons are less flattered by silver hair? This seemed to be a traditional or a widely held belief that I ran across when I started with color analysis a decade ago. But what I saw in clients never ever confirmed it, not once. I didn't come into PCA color analysis as a fashion or a beauty person. I was a veterinarian, a complete outsider. I hadn't read the books. I didn't know the myths or the legends. And to be fair, I did not have a clue about the power of it to make life better. Color Me Beautiful, you remember that really good book that
Mm,
introduced us to color analysis in the 80s? To me, that was an interesting marketing idea for makeup. I did the quiz, thought I must be an autumn, but I never applied any of it to myself. And that was it. I forgot about it. And then I started seeing clients, and I'd stand back and think, is it me? Is it them? Because that rule is not working for me. My eyes are seeing the opposite. That true autumn woman with the gorgeous silver hair, she looks like she's just come back from a cruise. Her silver also was nothing like yesterday's summer client.
hmm. Well, the myth that the warm seasons can't have silver hair may come from the idea that silver is cool and therefore incompatible with warmth, but that's too broad a stroke. There are hundreds of versions of silver hair, and as with all of our colors for all of our lives, they are perfectly harmonized with one another and with us. We all have our own correct shade of silver.
We do. Yes, we do. Once my hair silvered, I finally, after 30 years, had the right color of highlights, which it turns out was silver. It was never blonde. Blonde did what it often does, it gave me a wider, chubby face. In my coloring type, blonde might be the one color to never put in your hair. We'll have some hair shows coming up for all seasons at all ages. So we're going to come back to this topic of hair color for women who do want to enjoy the many great things that hair color offers and get the color right as well. Pendulums of belief and practice, they can swing too far. The idea that mature women should have lighter hair, well, maybe that comes from silver being a lighter color than the mature hair color in most people. So here we are at 50. The hair dye we wore at 40 is getting to be kind of dark and opaque. We're not ready for our silver yet. We don't want to wear our natural color. Well, what are we going to do? Our hair color of 30 isn't going to be successful at 60 any more than our 6-year-old hair color is successful at 30 because our appearance is changing all the time and all the elements are changing together. So here we have dye that has locked our hair in time for whenever we started using that color, but we keep going. And eventually we have no idea of our own hair color. Well, life's busy. We don't want to experiment. So we stay with a familiar, we keep applying that 20-year-old hair color formula. That's exactly what I did. But there are more sophisticated and simple choices. Might be a different dye, might be no dye. I chose a dye that was close to my natural, told myself. But I just stopped. And once I gave it a chance and saw my own color after 30 years, well, I still wonder, what was I thinking?
Mhm.
Yorin, did you ever color your hair?
Oh, yes, lots. Mostly in the completely wrong colors, of course. I knew nothing about color analysis, and I had everything from bronzy brown to raven black, none of which were really flattering. And I do cringe now when I see photos of myself with that bronzy wash in my hair and then the matching rusty red lipstick. Actually, the raven black was a little bit better, but still really harsh.
And I bet nobody said one word because they don't remember our hair of 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago. I had a different hair color every month. Raven, bronze, blonde, purple. Mine went too dark, too light, more red, less red. All I ever got was, I love your hair. And I think people just don't care as much about how we look as we do or as we think they do.
Yes, and we do like a change, don't we? And for me, in my raven black period, in my defense, I was pregnant and desperate for a change. And I was at the stage of pregnancy when I was afraid to go to the beach because people from Greenpeace might come and push me into the ocean. And coloring my hair was fun. And but when my hair started to go silver, and it happened very early in my late 30s, I think, I started rethinking coloring. I had to color it more and more often to cover up the silver. And one day, I just had enough of that stress and I decided to let my hair go gray naturally. And by that time, I had a hairdresser who supported me. So I never looked back, really. Nothing wrong with coloring it. It's just infinitely easier to keep my natural color. And I hope the takeaway here is to be brave and ask yourself how you feel about women with silver hair. Give it a chance. And colorists these days are good at platinum, ash, silver, and gray to help women transition. And on top of that, as we're recording this show, the world is in the middle of the corona pandemic, and hairdressers have been ordered to shut down for the time being. So, unless we resort to buying boxes of hair coloring and doing it ourselves, we may be faced with a golden opportunity to actually let our real hair colors emerge. It may not be the worst thing that can happen. Perhaps your true color is more becoming than you thought.
Yeah, yes, give it a chance, which means 2 or 3 inches, enough that you can see the color without a lot of interference from the chemical color. Many women find themselves wondering, what was the problem? My own hair is kind of nice. There's nothing wrong with it. It has natural highlights. I believe that I could categorically say that warm seasons silver just as well as anyone else. I no longer even believe the transition is hard. It's actually kind of gradual for the warms. And autumns, sure, they can wear the opacity of dye later in life better than many other groups, but they also wear their silver just fine, and so do springs. Actually, silver is a little harder for the winters at times. It can happen earlier in life. The change can be much more sudden or compressed in a shorter period of time, and the color might be more white. When I look around, the silver hair that I find isn't always working to a woman's advantage, it's the hair without a style. Has anyone listening ever seen a woman transition to silver and thought, you really got to go back to dye? No, no. It's often a relief to not have to notice the dye and the roots and the changing color from week to week and everything that goes with it. When I see a woman with newly silvery hair, I might think clothing in livelier colors would really help. A little lip and cheek color would help. And sometimes I think women figure, well, I'll just do the dye and then I'll be forgiven the rest because my impression will even out. But it's not really what happens. I'd also never look at a prospective employee and think, I'd hire you if only you dyed your hair. I wouldn't even work for a business that's dismissive of experience. It's the greatest teacher of all, and it's the hardest one to come by. Natural hair color is always actually amazing. It's full of different colors. Some of the best looking women out there wear their silver. I think they look really connected to themselves. It's not wrong to color your hair. It's the wrong color that's wrong.
Hmm. Well, and let's end on that excellent point. Thank you for listening. See you for the next show, in which we'll continue with some more questions specific to makeup for mature women.